So what you're about to see is a session from the Certificate of Embodiment Coaching. Most of this is not available online. This is me teaching a session on self-regulation, which I think is week 4 in the KEC course. So go to embodimentunlimited.com for the rest of the KEC course, and you'll hear there's a bit of a context here that might be confusing if you're not on that course, watching that on YouTube. Okay, welcome everyone to this week's session on nervous system regulation. Let's just sort of check in with our standards. How have you turned up? Are you camera on, not eating breakfast, fully present? I just dived in the sea to wake myself up, which works quite well in October. So just maybe taking a moment, a little bit of awareness before we do any centering today, like how you doing? Doing sort of high energy, high mood, low mood, where you at? Any trolls at play? Have you come with that nice open learner attitude, ready to go? Okay, looking forward to this. If you missed last week's session, Thursday session, sorry, on trauma, there's a recording. We forgot to hit record, so there is a recording from last year, which is I'm only slightly more brilliant this year. I haven't learned that much, so I think it'll be fine. We may well also put on a live session though, as well as a sort of little bonus for doing that. If you came to the evening session, for the first time ever, we had a trainer get the time wrong. Got the because we changed the times from last KEC and they didn't turn up. So that's never happened before. Apologies if you turned up and no one was there. So we will put on a bonus session for you. That's literally never happened before. Oh, that's my calendar. You don't want to see that. Oh, sexy men. We'll come to them later. If you're good, we'll come to them. But for now, let's look at nervous system regulation. Okay, so before we do that, peer groups. Now's the time you develop habits in your peer groups. So if someone's using it as their sort of private therapy group, you need to tell them now. Don't do that. Also, if someone's got lots of Noah teacher troll, you need to tell them now. I recommend having some kind of a symbol for that. You can use this classic British symbol. Anyone know what that means? Okay. Or you can use the Noah symbol, like a K, like a gang sign, or anything to let them know if someone's sort of that troll. Do it in a light way before you hate them, because if 8 weeks from now you make a complaint and they've been doing it, it's not great. Hopefully your nature connection's going well. The check-ins are brilliant. Even if your alarm goes off and you go, oh, I haven't got time, at least do 10 seconds. Yeah, 5 times a day minimum, or linking it to other things. Key part of the course. Last week we introduced awareness, so we introduced meditation. The sort of main practice we're suggesting is a body scanning meditation. Yeah, we could do the emergent form if you're distracted, or the pleasure form if you want resourcing, but the main one is the more systematic body scan. Any questions on that? Because you'll be doing that for the rest of your life, at least the rest of the course. So I want to make sure it's clear, no dumb questions. So particularly beginners, is there anything you want to ask me about that to sort of clarify? If you haven't added your location to your name, by the way, it's always nice to see where people are. So I often talk about kind of cultural stuff and gives me a sense of the time of day and things like that. No questions on that? All right, let's proceed with today. Sounds like you're all meditation masters. So keep doing that. Watch out for your trolls around meditation, obviously. Good. So KEC is all about putting in the work, not just turning up on a Tuesday and listening to me make jokes. Sometimes people at this point in the course say it's a bit overwhelming. That gets better. That gets better. I would say that once you get in a routine, it gets much easier. So earthy people get into a nice routine. Don't try and be perfect in every little thing. You can see a lot of the practices resourcing rather than, chores. Some people just don't like being told what to do and it feels a bit rigid for them. There is a structure there for a reason. So you can go light if it's really too much, but I would say it does get a bit easier once you get into that routine and not trying to be super perfect with it. Today's going to be another dense session. The dense sessions are more loaded at the beginning of the course. I've literally written the book on this 10 years ago. I wrote a book on this, on centering. I think you've probably got access to that on the platform. If not, ask Caro, she'll sort you out. Loads of videos on this, and a lot of it will come through practice rather than through theory. This is probably one of the things I know most about. But I don't say that with arrogance. It's just something I've done a lot of and studied a lot of. So usually I've got quite a lot to say about this topic, but it's all about the practice over the next week, really. So we did a little bit of a check-in already. So we're starting to get a bit of a sense of our nervous system states. You could geek out about the neuroscience, but I'm much more interested in learning this subjective skill of learning it. So actually learning the skill of how am I? That is the basis of nervous system regulation, which we'll look at today. Like, how am I before I can say how do I want to be? Let's do a centering together. So sometimes we do ABC. Let's do a quick tetrarchy centering. So this is one of my models. So let's do a little bit of each of these. So feel your body. Start with body awareness. Relax your core. Think of someone who makes you smile. Maybe there's someone on the screen or someone in your imagination. And look for some nature. You can look at the clouds or a pot plant. What nature have you got around you that might be resourcing? And what's a little gesture that connects you to something like spirit or higher power for you? Might be a namaste or a cross, or might be a sound like an om or a word. Okay, notice how you feel. Maybe a little bit better subjectively than a moment ago. Yeah, there's a little bit of fun as well. Who doesn't like it? It's the Muppets, isn't it? It's the Muppets, one of the Muppets. Maybe humor can be resourcing to. What about these couple of quotes to get us going from a couple of big name embodiment teachers? Wendy's sadly deceased. Just to get us thinking. Give me a thumbs up when you've read those. That's most people's thumbs up. There's one from me. Okay, why would we want to get ourselves together? Why would we want to manage our state? We're looking at state management today. Why? What do you reckon? There's lots of good reasons. What's yours? Is there something toddlers can't do? I've just had a 4 and a 5-year-old in my house. They're learning it. They're getting better at being told, no, you can't watch any more cartoons or have that toy you've seen in the shop. They're starting to learn self-regulation at 4 or 5. Most people sort of stop in their skill about that age. Why might we want to keep getting better past the 5-year-old level? Do you know the story Llama Llama Red Pajama? I've read it a number of times at the weekend. Uh, to create instead of just reacting. That's nice. Staying present with children. Yes, children definitely require it. Uh, to be calm and spread the calm. Why? To be free, right? So we can actually be free. We're choosing, not just reacting. Emotional regulation. Yes, I agree, but why? To be more effective. Okay, so that's not so much about how we feel, but actually what we do. That's also in there, right? Yeah. To be healthy, there's another good one, right? If we're constantly stressed out. Uh, who, like me, is sort of fairly high in trait neuroticism? You're just naturally a bit all over the place, probably born that way. Some kids are like this, aren't they? Some kids are calm, some kids are not calm. Okay, so you probably need an extra. Who here has some challenges in their life? Most of you, I imagine, if you're on the human plane of existence. Yeah. Okay, who here wants to be happy and healthy? There's another one. Okay, yeah, I think that's probably all of us again. So the I win it. So happiness and health is the I. The we is also relationships, right? Very rarely will your relationships be improved by losing your shit, technical term. All right. Very occasionally that might be helpful to sort of break through something, but generally not. Generally, we want to be well regulated in our relationships, whether it be with employees, whether it be I don't know, children, whether it be intimate relationships. These are very, very important things. Okay. Lastly, just practicalities, getting things done. If you want to get something done, if you think whatever you do in life is important, you will need some of this. So, how about we learn some stuff that will improve all of that, which is free of charge, quick and easy, and you can use for the rest of your life? How does that sound? Yes, that sounds good, Mark. We are participating fully by nodding in a way that makes me feel validated and connected and co-regulated. Excellent. Thank you very much for the big nods and the smiles. Okay, everyone's a winner. Good. See, people that get Zoom fatigue is because they're not participating, right? If you're like fully there, fully here, like I am with you guys, it's like way, way more fun for everyone. Okay, so there's lots of reasons why we should learn to self-regulate better. One way of looking at it is actually 12 functions of the body, which you may have seen a video on. Like it improves our perception, our cognition, our relationships, all of these different things. So there's more to it. Let's do a quick one. I'm going to throw a few quick techniques at you. They're all on video, so you've all got backup to watch later on. Here's one. Extend up the back, relax down the front. It's like 2 seconds. We do it again. Extend up the back, relax down the front. Yeah, one more time. You just do it once, but just so you get it. Extend up the back, the spine, so we wake up, and then relax down the front. Simple. You've done tetrarchy, ABC. I think you've done with me before. We'll definitely do it again. And up and down techniques. There's three centerings, not one ways to do it. There are three that we use a lot. How do you feel after that? It's 2 second technique done 3 times. It's like 10 seconds tops. Anyone feel a bit more nice, technical term? A bit more regulated, a bit more present? Doesn't take much, does it? Doesn't take like, okay, hours of yoga or therapy. Notice some of you up-regulated, you became more alert. Okay, most of you became more present. Okay, it's a sort of like not up or down regulating, but just mindfulness. That's last week, yeah. And some of you calmed down. I've just been swimming in the sea, so probably what I need right now. Do you see how this builds on the awareness? So the awareness is what state am I in? And today is, well, what do I need? Where do I want to take that? We can't control it 100%, nor perhaps would we want to, but we can lead our state. We can wake up or calm down, for example, to be in a better state for learning rather than being a victim of whatever happened before, whatever happened before this call in the rest of your life. Okay, that's what one option is, to be a complete victim of everything that ever happened since the birth, the Big Bang, the birth of the universe leading to you today. Yeah, or we can make a choice to be a bit more calm, a bit more awake. Good. Okay, so what the fuck is centering? What do you reckon? What's your definition? In the chat, what's your definition? What's your definition of centering? Oh, okay. Share. There we go. What do you reckon? Grounding. What is grounding? That sounds good, doesn't it? Because ground is good. What about skying? Is that good too? Because just the word, isn't it? It's not wrong. I'm not having a go at the people that said grounding, but what do you mean by that? It's not it's not incorrect. So present is not what we're talking about. That's necessary but not sufficient. That was last week, awareness, right? So we're doing present. Yes, you're not wrong, but plus something else. What are we adding to that? Is it always calming down? Hi, my name's Eeyore. I need to calm down. I'm so stressed. I need to. No, that person needs to wake up, don't they? Some of you need to calm down, some of you need to wake up. So we're not just. Notice there's a bit of a bias, particularly in yoga, where we use the calming voice all of the time. Who's a very spiritual person who likes to downregulate everyone with their calming spiritual voice? Do you like this voice? My girlfriend quite likes this voice sometimes when she's feeling anxious and I say, everything's going to be okay. There. Here's a cup of tea. Yeah. So sometimes it is nice to be calmed down. Or what about if I was constantly like, whoa, yeah, waking you up. Yeah, I'm your trainer. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, I'm gonna wake you up the whole time. Here we go. Did you ever go to like a British fairground and there's the guy and he's like, whoop, how to scouter, let's go. It's like all the animateurs, they call them in France, with the children on the ski slopes. They animate the children. Yeah, it's upregulation. All right, so what are we talking about? What are we talking about? We're talking about any kind of state regulation. Could be up or down or sideways. Any other ways, other ways. Some people talk about just meaning state changing. So any kind of state changing, not just regulation. That's a more broad definition. I'm not going to say which is correct, but I do want you to be clear. Some people say it's orientating more specific to the physical center of mass of the body. Grounding usually means being present. Sometimes it means down regulating. Sometimes it means bending your knees. Sometimes it means feeling your feet. So let's be a little bit more exact in our language. What are we talking about? Let's be clear, or else you will sound like silly hippies. And when you coach a normal person, they will laugh at you, or just ignore you. So center of mass of the body. I'm not really into this definition. You'll see this in some schools of Aikido. The center of mass of your body can be outside your body, even, yeah, depending on your positioning. So I'm not so keen on that. Though sometimes as a technique, coming back to the sort of below the belly button, the dantian or the hara might be a useful technique. You want to do that now? Your awareness is probably up here, right? It's blah, blah, blah. Bring your awareness down here, down to just below your belly button, inside your body. For most people, that's kind of calming, settling. Yeah. Particularly in sort of Western culture, we tend to be more up here. Yeah. So we're doing the choice part, and you can't just say, change. I'd like to be happy. I'd like to be calm. So we need some way to make that choice, some technique for doing that choice. In our model, which you should be very familiar with by now. If you're not, make sure you read the book up to this sort of chapter on this, and watch the videos on this if you haven't already. And by the way, we can see that not everyone is watching the videos. Do watch the videos. They reinforce the call. Put an hour in your diary every week to watch videos. That is more than enough. Yeah, you can watch them while doing the washing up or ironing or something. Anyone still do ironing? I don't do ironing. Just put a shirt on, maybe wet it a bit. What's the advantage of flat clothes? Okay. We're also contextually here. So we're looking at practices for self-regulation. Yeah. But we've also got people, co-regulation, places, eco-regulation. If you're somewhere beautiful and structured and orderly, like look around where you are now. Is it orderly and beautiful? How would you rate it out of 10? 10 being like a Zen temple full of order and beauty, 0 being like a student dorm full of pizza boxes and used condoms. Where are you at? 0. Hold up the number of fingers. Where are you at? Mine's beautiful outside. This room's a bit sparse, so I'd give it a solid 6. Yeah. Okay, so place is also important here. We can't just rely on practices, and people are critical. Co-regulations are really important. We'll teach you this as coaches later on. Purpose is also like, why are you doing it? For the sake of what, Mr. Strozzi says. Yeah. Why are you here? This is also part of our context of regulation. So I think our sort of Western individualized culture puts a lot of emphasis on self-regulation, but there's other types. So centering, as we define it, is a self-regulation technique that is quick. It's not taking an hour. It is more or less invisible. So, for example, if I have to do like alternative nostril breathing, that might be great for self-regulation, but you can't do that all the time because it's just a bit obvious. People will look at you funny. Yeah, you don't have to stop what you're doing. It's one reason we teach centering with the eyes open on this course. Every year in exams, people close their eyes. Why? We tell them time and time again. So, yes, because we want to be able to do it driving or in a meeting. So obviously it changes your state. We're not just spacing out. Obviously, it's body based. It's not, imagine you're in a happy place somewhere else. I mean, that could be regulating, but generally not encouraging that. And we're not using music, for example, or some special technology like brainwave headsets. Those things are fun. Music's certainly useful, but we don't want to rely upon them. Things we can use the whole time. Just make sense? Get a sense of sort of what we mean by centering. Other people may have different definitions and other ways of looking at it. Good. I'm just looking at your numbers, 688. Not many people gave me numbers. I did them with fingers, didn't you? That's fine. How regulated are you now? Do you feel you're sort of awake but calm? Awake and calm, seeing those as two things rather than one thing, rather than I'm either awake or calm. Can you be both? In martial arts, that's what we learn, rather than the sort of general common sense Western scale of either I'm awake and stressed or I'm sleepy and calm. Yeah, so often as coaches in life, what we're needing is calm but awake, both of those things. Yeah. All right, good. Mm-mm-mm. There's a big definition of centering by Paul Linden, one of my main mentors. Give me a thumbs up when you've read that. Assistants, you can thumbs up too when you've read it because you're the ones I can see. Got to the end of that? So there's all kinds of things in that, right? We could go into like the ethical dimension. You could look up this book by Paul where he gives all these different exercises. Often when we practice centering, we do it with what's called a noxious stimuli. What is a noxious stimuli? Think about, I don't know, Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin or Keir Starmer or any politician you don't like. That's a noxious stimuli. Okay, take your pick. Don't pick anyone traumatic. Yeah. Well, here's another one. It's a physical one. Everyone take your finger. Everyone got at least one finger and thumb. Everyone got it? And flick underneath your nose like that. Enough that it annoys you. Okay, what happens in your body? What do you do in your body? Who kind of went, had some kind of contraction, probably stopped breathing, maybe tensed your belly. Do it again. If it was too easy, do it harder. Underneath the nose, it's more annoying. Anyone tighten their eyes? Anyone tighten their tongue? See, now we're studying our distress response. All right. So now we can do centering again, can't we? We could do an up and down technique, rising up the back, softening down the front. You could do a quick ABC, awareness, feeling the body, balancing the posture, relaxing the core. Yeah. And then we could do it again. See if we can develop some immunity to that stress. Okay. Was it a bit easier the second time? A bit less subjectively annoying and objectively less stressful, right? We have a subjective element, happiness, like it's pissed me off less. Okay, we have a objective element, my body did this less, yeah, like fight or flight response. And we actually have an intersubjective element. I would have been less annoying while talking to you. Yeah, you would have had a better relationship with anyone you were in relationship with, which right now is sort of me, probably. Yeah. Does that make sense? So this is quite advanced. So you're having an objective, subjective, and intersubjective relationship, which includes a moral element. Okay, the physical element is the distress response. Okay, let's study this one more time. So close your eyes, close your eyes. You may already be in a distress response if you're going, what the fuck is happening? I'm a control freak. I don't like this. So we can notice that. Or you might be in a pleasure response. Going, it's really nice to rest my eyes and not look at Mark. Now, think of someone annoying, not traumatic, but annoying. You can listen to my voice if I'm annoying, or you can think of a politician. No one traumatic thing. And again, what do you do in your body when you think of this person? Okay, open your eyes, give yourself a little shake and a little wriggle. Not exactly a centering technique, but quite nice if you were going into a bit of stress there. Probably didn't fully hardcore stress you out, but don't want to. What did you do in your body when you were thinking of annoying person? So probably stopped breathing, tight jaw, tight belly, tight mouth, tight throat. Maybe your pelvic floor was tight if you were noticing that. If they're not annoying enough, we can always find you someone more annoying. Some of you sort of collapse. That's another alternative. More of a flop than a fight or flight. Okay, so the good news is you're exactly like everyone else in the world who I've ever done this with, which is thousands of people. Okay, you had the normal human response. It's not just human, actually. A dog will have this response. If there's a loud noise, or you take a dog's bone, or you scare a dog, it will have a very similar fight flight response, maybe with a bit of freeze. Often the breath will change, this core line will change, hence the C and ABC, the eyes, the mouth, the throat, the belly will tighten. Your job over the next life is to study this, to get really, really good at noticing maybe these subtle things like the hairs on the back of your neck, or maybe your toes did this a little bit, things you didn't notice. We can build our awareness of. Maybe your eyes tightened, maybe your pelvic floor tightened a little bit. So there's things we can become more sensitive to noticing. Why might we want to get better at noticing this quicker? Like the subtle version of it. Why might that be useful rather than wait till we're in raging? I'm not angry. You know, the guy who's like, I'm not in a bad mood. It's not my period. Whatever it is. I've had partners like that. Yeah, little kids, I'm not tired. Not very self-aware, right? So the sooner you can notice you're in an under-resourced state, the easier it is to rectify, to do something about, to walk away, maybe, to warn the other person to put the knives away out of reach, whatever it is you need to do. Okay, so from the mild to the serious. Yeah. It's also just knowing yourself better. You're right about that. Okay, so what we're talking about with centering is managing this very normal, totally natural. Everyone has one. I've probably a couple of sort of enlightened masters I've seen that don't seem to have one, but they tell me even they feel stress. So yeah, this is a very normal mammalian response. You see the fight and flight in the two dogs there. This is what we're studying. We're getting to know it, and then we're reversing it. Pretty much as simple as that. Yeah. So you can't just tell people to calm down. If you tried to do that, and remember that British comedy show, calm down, calm down. You know, if some two guys about to have a fight, you're not like, gentlemen, perhaps you have considered not being aggressive. And it doesn't work very well, does it? Because words don't work that well to the limbic system. Yeah, trauma is also a factor here because if you're traumatized, you're stuck in this state more permanently. I was looking at this last Thursday for those of you who made the session. Watch the recording if not. So trauma can be you're stuck in a bit of that fight or flight or freeze response. Yeah, which means you're also closer to the edge. Like you're more, I mean, Croatia at the moment is a bit of, I dare say, intergenerational trauma here, understandably. And it's like people are just that little bit closer to fighting than in some countries. It's that they're not like there straight away, but you can just tell that they will go there. They will argue like quite easily. Yeah, other people, it might be other responses like Slovenia next door. It's much more of a sort of fawning or withdrawing kind of response, a more passive response. What do you reckon, Anya? Cultural difference even within an hour's drive? It's quite interesting, isn't it? Mm. Okay. So what are we doing with centering? We can't just tell ourselves to calm down, right? Like it doesn't work very well. So we're using all these things. We're using awareness itself. That will often be regulating in and of itself. So we can't really separate them out. Saying yes to how we are, right? Having the intention to be different, changing our posture, changing our relaxation. This is very cool. Why? Because stress always involves tension. Yeah. Collapsed responses are sort of the lack of tension, but generally it's increased tension. So breath, again, the breath is always impacted by stress. Very hard to imagine being upset without the breath changing. Yeah, nobody says, "Ah, I hate you. I hate my life, and I want to kill everyone." Yeah, that would be very strange, wouldn't it? Because I'm using the breath pattern of relaxation with a sort of harmful message, hence why you're finding it funny because it's not congruent. We can use movement, right? It doesn't have to involve sitting still. We can regulate ourselves by going for a walk, not strictly centering because we can't always do it, but can be very, very helpful. And we can co-regulate, of course, probably more effective than centering techniques in many ways. Like if a baby's crying, we don't suggest it do yoga, do we? We do co-regulation. Yeah, we use our voice, we use our movement, we use our warmth, our body touch, but we can't always co-regulate. So the beauty of self-regulation is it's something that's within our control, something we can train and get better at. So a simple way of looking at this is relaxed radiance. It's the centered state. I think babies have it naturally. I don't know why, but YouTube keeps showing me female Polish athletes. I'm just going to go with it. Okay. Often when they win, they have this sort of relaxed radiance. I'm a fan. If you think that's sexist, this slide's for you. Okay. So relaxed radiance also is attractive. By the way, a side effect of being centered is you will become sexier. I'm sorry if this has detrimental effects on your life. All right. So it's almost a definition, actually. With men, it tends to be calm. With women, it tends to be sort of more exciting, but it's both of those elements, relaxed, radiant. So there's an aesthetic side effect of being centered. Okay. You guys still with me? I'm going quite quickly. There's a lot of content. We're halfway through. This making sense? Did you enjoy Superman, Henry Cavill, all the Polish? Did everyone like either Henry Cavill or the Polish athletes? If you didn't, guys, I'm trying my best here. Something for everyone. Okay. So we've got to get through a Tuesday. Paulina is in Poland. I don't know why I picked Poland. Paulina, for some reason, YouTube just kept. I was like, I don't want to see Polish athletes. I was like, okay, maybe I do. All right, let's move on quickly. I'm incriminating myself. So, where was I? Yes. So we tend to think of centering as the antidote to distress responses, to bad things, right? But have you noticed? I got a bit uncentered there talking about the Polish athletes. Maybe it was you. It was Henry Cavill. So I've actually segued beautifully into this next section. So we have aversion, which causes us to have a fight flight response, but we also have craving, tanha in Buddhism. Tanha, you'll find this concept in in India, in Hinduism, Buddhism, grasping. Yeah. So grasping, if you are a heterosexual woman or a gay man, you might be having a grasping response there. You may notice your breath shorten. You may notice you're grasping, and so maybe you really want a baby, so you're sort of going grasping. Yeah. Chocolate cake. Think of your favorite food that you really want right now that you haven't had in ages. Okay. Or you can think of, here's one. Imagine you could just write something with a magic pen and it would come true. Peace on earth or all the money in the world. And look around, see if you can find that pen. That's the magic pen in your room. Don't grab it, but just look for it. Maybe want to grab it. Will make all your dreams come true. What happens in your body? Did anyone stop breathing? Did anyone lose their balance a little bit? You do this with food. You see kids go, "Oh, cake, cake." We had a chocolate cake for Lucia's birthday the other day, and everyone, the kids were like, "Cake, cake, cake." They're really off balance. So as well as aversion, we've also got craving. We don't really have a word for this in Western culture. We talk about fight or flight, but we don't talk about wanting and grasping. Grasping's the nearest word, but tanda has a much better word because it also is like, I've got it and I'm not going to let go of it. It's mine, my precious. Yeah. Or it could be, I'm trying to get the thing I haven't got. Grasping's a nice word because it works for both of those two concepts. So centering is also an antidote for that. If anyone's ever had addictive issues, who here is addicted to at least one thing? Put your grubby little hand up, you sinful creatures. It's probably everyone here, isn't it? It's probably all of us. All got an addiction. Yeah. So whether it's coffee or cigarettes or your phone, that's pretty common. Do you feel that bit of grasping when I say phone? You're like, where's my phone? Oh, where is it? I haven't checked it in ages. Yeah, I have that little bit of grasping in your body, like my precious. It's making sense. Grasping's a bit more subtle than aversion. It's actually harder to work with because it's a bit more enjoyable, isn't it? You know, as aversion by definition is not enjoyable. By definition, craving is at least wanting something enjoyable. Yeah, greed would be another part of it, but there's somatics of greed, is the off balance, the tension, all that part of it, rather than the sort of immoral dimension. Yes, I am saying that both aversion, nasty stuff, fight or flight, and craving, stuff what we want, yeah, unwholesome pleasure, things that we grasp after, both bring us off center, both literally in terms of our posture, but also figuratively in terms of our emotions and our breath and everything else. Does this make sense? Yeah. Okay, good. By the way, Buddhism studies this in detail, right? This is classic Buddhist concepts. All right, so where was I? Okay, different types of centering. So we can do body-based centering. So really simple centering. Let's all do one now. Let your tongue be loose in your mouth. Paul Linden classic. Or let your belly be soft. Okay, simple. Simple self-regulation techniques with the body. We can also do inquiry centering. This is a Wendy Palmer classic. Doesn't work for everyone, but some people love it. Ask yourself, what would a little bit more ease be like right now? Or any other quality you regard as virtuous and desirable. So, what would a little bit more openness be like, or happiness? Yeah. So that's inquiry centering. It's a little bit different because it's more like bottom up than top down. We're not instructing, not doing something. We're more asking, but that can work too. Meaning based centering is like, why am I here? Like right now, ask yourself, what are you in service to? Listening to my ramblings, learning new concepts, practicing sometimes difficult things. Why am I here? What am I in service to right now? So that orientation to meaning can itself, and you'll see people like sit up straight when they do it. They can't help it because the body is linked to that. Co-regulation. Think of your favorite animal. Think of your favorite person that you want to give a hug to right now. Or you can imagine the hands of your ancestors on your back, wishing you well, wanting you to be well. It's a sort of spiritual co-regulation, pagany ancestral co-regulation. And we mentioned eco-regulation, which doesn't just mean nature, it also could mean like your physical environment, right? The aesthetics of where you are, the order and beauty are the two key factors there. Okay, so four types of regulation. Let's do it in hugs. This is how we got the Ukrainians to remember it. So we've got self-regulation, give yourself a hug. Let's do it together. You remember it easier if you do this. Okay, co-regulation. Okay, imagine you're hugging a friend. Okay, now imagine you're a tree, eco-regulation. Okay, and then do an om or a namaste at the end, theo-regulation. Everyone got it? One more time, all together, kids. Give yourself a hug, self-regulation, co-regulation, eco-regulation, and then come into an om or a namaste for your theo-regulation. Cool. Okay, so there's big models of this. This is the essence. This is the meaning of life, basically, guys. And they all interact. They all help each other. Getting into the body will open up the other things for you as well. You'll notice this on the course that you'll have improvements to your relationships or your, sense of meaning or whatever it is. Okay, four bridges is another way of looking at them. Yeah, so yes, we are focusing on the body part, but that is not to say the others are not important. Mm. And so they all help each other. So your nature connection you're doing will help you get more embodied, blah, 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 blah. Your peer groups will help you get more embodied, etc. So we have the saying BMI, which means be more Italian. Okay, be more Italian. This is unless we're talking about being on time or anything like that. The Mediterraneans generally, actually, we should probably add the Greeks and the Spanish a little bit here. Who's from a co-regulatory country? Caro's from Colombia, which is quite co-regulatory. Who thinks they're co-regulation? The Greeks? Put it in the chat. Who are the co-regulation masters? They eat together, they sing together, they dance together. Lots of African countries I've lived in are very co-regulatory. Portugal has a pretty good sense of this, Martin, I've seen. So Spanish, what do you reckon? Good at co-regulation. The Irish tend to do it with a lot of talking and humor. Different styles of it. The Irish do a lot of joking as co-regulation, a lot of verbal co-regulation. Brazil, yeah, a bit more sexy co-regulation, a bit more dancey, a bit more passionate. It's got a different embodiment. I used to live in Brazil. Yeah. It's got a little bit of oi linda, tudo bem, gostosa, So anyone speak Portuguese? That means tasty in Portuguese. It's the literal translation. Yeah, Latinos, Italians. These are some cultures we can learn from. Who thinks they're in a not a very co-regulatory culture? A culture that's a bit more isolated. Sometimes it's subtle, like the Brits can do it in a subtle way, can't we? It's not always so warm. Yeah, I tend to say the Scandinavians, particularly sort of wealthier countries, a bit more isolated. They don't co-regulate so much. And there's always examples, right? Maybe a football match or when people are drunk. There's always places people do it because without it, we die. It's pretty important. So. Yeah, and trauma can be a factor here and people feeling a bit isolated or cut off or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so where was I? Eco-regulation, I've mentioned. It's one reason I love this part of the world. Slovenia is absolutely fantastic for eco-regulation. Love it. Just feel immediately more relaxed in this part of the world. It's the reason I'm living by the ocean right now as well. Like, no matter what mood I'm in, I go outside, I look at the sea, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be fine. There was another stunning sunset last night to make me feel good about life and connect me to the spirit of the universe. Available on my Instagram if you missed it. Okay, so beauty and order, right? Yeah. So could be like a bit more, people have different aesthetics, different senses, but Japanese people go to a beautiful cathedral in England and they still like it. Yeah, English people go to a Zen garden in Japan and they still like it. So there are some universals here around beauty, I think, and nature. One factor here to look at is when we're looking at a lot of regulation, right? But expression is also really important. So sometimes martial artists, yogis, meditators, they almost get too well regulated and they get a bit robotic. Anyone gone through the stage or know someone in this stage? Like, I am Aikido man, and you do martial arts, right? You see this in Kung Fu? Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to unmute if you want to say hi. It's nice to hear the assistants' voices sometimes. Uh, yeah, you'll see this in anyone in some yogis, like Iyengar yogis, very controlled. The opposite is the sort of anyone know like the tango world or the five rhythms world? Oh my God, so much drama. Okay, so much expression, so much feeling, emotion all the time. Yeah, it's like drama. Yeah. So for me, like a lot of expression is beautiful. Like, Brazil's beautiful, Italy's beautiful. These are expressive cultures. Some cultures a bit more regulated, a bit more contained, a bit more controlled. And not bad or good. We need both, don't we? So in terms of embodiment, which do you think you personally need to work on? Who are the expressive people? Give me your expressive dance. Show me you're like, Laura, look how easy that was for you. Okay. Now, obviously, we have state, might just be today. And who are the controlled people? Give me your best Zen look. Give me your best sensei look. Anya's beautiful. Look at that. She's got the stern martial arts teacher look going on with a little bit of East European badass too. Yeah. Okay, so your journey with this is going to be different, right? Now just relax, sit how you want. So some of you are going to be working a little bit more on the expression, maybe a bit less on the centering. Still good to practice centering though. And some of you centering is really, really important. Yeah, people often sometimes people say I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm like, no, you're a fucking child. You're a badly regulated person. It's not about the sensitivity is not a problem. It's sensitivity plus no regulation. That's the problem. Being sensitive is great, but if you're sensitive and can't regulate, that's a problem. Yeah, so like rather than say be less sensitive, be better regulated. Is it good to be expressive? Sometimes, yeah, sometimes, I hope you don't orgasm in accountant, you know? Like I hope that you can scream sometimes. I hope that you can play with kids and pick them up and pretend you've got a chainsaw and you're chopping them up. It's good to be expressive, right? Sometimes. Sometimes we need to calm down. We need to center ourselves. So these are two embodied skills. Some of you are going to do improv, some of you are going to do conscious dance, some of you are going to do martial arts and yoga when you pick your practices later on. Yeah, the problem is people tend to pick the opposite. The control freaks, I know who you are. I can see you take the stick out your ass. You tend to do more controlling things, okay? And then the expressive people, I need to be more expressive. I need to let it all hang out more. No, you don't. You need to get it together. All right. So there's a sort of bigger context. Now, obviously, it's complex because sometimes we need to express to calm down or calm down to express to feel safe, blah, blah, blah. It's making sense? Yeah. Okay. Uh, cool. All right. Where are we at? So a lot of concepts around this. Yeah, there we go. We don't cover emotions so much on this course. Emotions are obviously part of embodiments. They're part of your awareness, your check-in. But we don't worship emotions either. It's funny. We live in a sort of, I call it the American therapeutic age. So American culture is one of the more expressive cultures, and we kind of live in their kind of cultural empire currently. And also therapy culture has got everywhere. And I'd say, that's a particular thing, therapy. It's not bad. I do therapy, it's good, but we're not the idea of constantly venting, constantly expressing. I'd say that's as much of a problem as being a kind of Victorian, uptight, British officer who doesn't ever express their feelings. I'm fine. The uptight British officer who says I'm absolutely okay. 19th century. Yeah, both of these are sort of extremes. Yeah, sometimes we can use like go deeper into emotion. Other times we can regulate ourselves. So sometimes it's helpful to go deeper into an embodied emotional state so we can get the message, so we can complete. Yeah. Other times it's useful to just get away from it, to go, you know what, right now, I'm going to stand up straight, put a smile on my face, go for a brisk walk, and I'm going to shake that off. Neither of these approaches is good or bad. And in fact, if one isn't working, do the other. Does that make sense? So, if you're like stuck in sadness, you might need to practice either going deeper into it, for example. Same with anger, could go deeper into it to go, what's really going on here? What needs to come out? What do I want to explore? Or you can go, you know what? Not today. Not today. I'm a grown up. I need to get the kids to school. I'm not going into this right now. Yeah. So we can go deeper with embodiment into an emotional state, or we can move away from it. Do not make a religion out of either of those two things. Do you know what I mean by that? Yeah, so if we make a religion out of emotion, we're constantly expressing, it becomes a god, or we make a religion out of being constantly controlled, and then it explodes one day and we kill everyone in the office with an AK-47 or whatever. Make sense? Yeah, so we can go deeper in or we can go away from. They're both useful, valid choices at different times. So don't let anyone tell you either of those is a bad option. Both are useful. Do you tend to demonize one of them? Do you tend to demonize people who are very emotional and crying all the time? I used to have a girlfriend. She used to cry at least once a day. At first, I used to worry about it, and then she said, "Look, my face is leaking. This is just what I do. Don't worry about it." So she was just very much on the expressive side. Lovely person. And she worked quite skillfully with it, but she was very expressive. Other people, they're sort of cold as ice, aren't they? And you come on, like I want to see you cry. Like you'd be upset. It's all right. So don't make a god out of either of them. And self-regulation is one side of it. Okay. Yeah, so we're saying emotions are signs, they're not sacred or sins. Yeah, so if I'm sad, it's probably because I've lost something. If I'm angry, it's probably because my borders have been violated. If I'm jealous, it might tell me what I want. These are all good signs, but they're not religions, and none of them are bad in and of themselves. Every culture, by the way, makes certain emotions bad. In Brazil, for example, you're not allowed to be sad. In England, you're not allowed to be too happy. You can be happy, but not too happy. In your culture, what's not allowed? The Germans do not allow the anger because if they allow the anger, then their panzer tanks roll across Europe. No, so like there's historical reasons sometimes why various emotions aren't allowed. What in your culture isn't allowed? Put the country in the emotion. Just 'cause I'm curious. So this can cut off part of our embodiment, right? Yeah. So in China, there might be like a range of emotions that aren't allowed. But there's probably some that are. Yeah. Don't be too happy. That's This is why we have East European smile, yes? Everybody practice East European smile. It is very good for you American who are smiling like full all time. It is good for you. Not too much. Yeah, too much of anything in some cultures. Anger is a really big one. Like the Scandinavians, yeah, for sure. Like you're not allowed to be angry. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is parts of our embodiment we're cutting off. So there's two traps there, being a robot or being a sort of, overly expressive, narcissistic kind of hippie. We all regulate. Here's another way of looking at what we're talking about today. We all regulate, but with what? So we can regulate internally with centering or co-regulate with other people. But what do you use to regulate? Who here sometimes uses food to regulate? Put your grubby little donut stained hands in the air. I do sometimes. Yeah, most people do at some point. Who uses sex to regulate sometimes? It's not necessarily a bad, there's worse ways to get over a bad day, isn't there? Some people have all sorts of fun habits. Who uses alcohol sometimes? It's again not the end of the world. It's the odd glass of wine on a Friday night, right? But if it's three glasses of wine that you pretend is one every night, then maybe there's an issue. Most addictions are people using an external thing to regulate and becoming dependent on it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you've got used to something and you can be dependent on it. And I'm not against any kind of regulation, right? Let's say someone, I don't know, drinks coffee to upregulate. I'm not a snob about that. I'm not against that. But the question is, what's the cost for you? Are there better ways to do it? Yeah, like I was a coffee addict for a long time, but I started to have quite serious stomach issues as a result. Now I'd rather, jump in the sea. It doesn't give me stomach issues. Yeah, also a bit cheaper. So there's costs and benefits, and you got to ask yourself, are there better things you're doing to regulate somatically than the things you're using externally? And again, don't have to be guilty here. Most of us have some little habits. All right. Good. Noxious stimuli I was talking about before. If you this week we're going to ask you to practice centering regularly, but you can do this in your peer groups by saying unpleasant words to each other. If you're going to do that, the people who are receiving them get to pick the words. You can demonstrate that another time. You could watch annoying people on YouTube. You could imagine annoying people. Pain works, but don't damage yourself. Yoga, any kind of strong yoga is a way of working with this. Martial arts, when you've got pain involved, I'm doing a wrist lock in Aikido, right? Breathe, relax, center. Yeah. Ways you work with this. Bit more pain. You want to do a bit of pain now? Let's have a bit of pain. It'll wake you up. Grab your hand and pinch here. Pinch this pressure point here. Okay. And pinch it hard enough that it hurts. And then breathe and relax. Say ah. And then see if you can pinch a bit harder. And then breathe and relax again. Ah. Use sound for regulation. Okay. Makes sense. Just a little bit. Don't hurt yourself. Don't damage yourself, obviously. If you want to take on cold showers or ice baths, this could be another practice. You might want to get medical advice if you've got heart conditions and things, but running your shower to cold every day this week to practice centering in the shower. Great way to practice. Another simple way you can practice is after your meditation or before, do a breath hold. Hold your breath. Okay, simple as, just don't have to do a full Wim Hof, just do it now. Breathe in, nice big full breath. And then notice as the stress response starts. If the stress response hasn't started yet, wait another minute. It will start. Okay, then center yourself, relax your body as best you can while keeping your eyes open without breathing out, and then breathe out when it becomes unbearable. So, very simple practice you could do for 1 minute. You know, most people, a minute's more than enough, 30 seconds for a lot of us. So, cold showers, breath holds. You can practice centering with a difficult thing. Yoga, martial arts, another way to meditation's less reliable because unless you sit there till your knees hurt, and that's not very calibrated, meditation's probably not going to provide the noxious stimuli. So we're going to ask you this week to practice centering every time your alarm goes off. So you do 30 seconds of check-in and then a centering technique, like up or down or ABC. Do the check-in first. Notice how you are. Get the message from your body before you regulate yourself. Really, really important, or else you miss the awareness part. So this week, your 1 minute check-ins are split, 30 seconds awareness, 30 seconds of centering. If you want to add to that breath holds or the cold showers, actually, let's see if we can get some commitment. Who's going to do cold showers this week? You can go hot first and then run it to cold. The Germans are like, yes, we will do the colder showers. So cold showers, anyone? Breath holds. I don't want to commit to a week of breath holds. Literally 1 minute at the end of your meditation or before. Simple, simple practice. Don't have to do like a full. You can buy an app like, free diving apps and go crazy with it, but you can just do a simple, simple one. Yeah. So little ways to practice centering with difficulty rather than centering just, whenever you feel like it. Okay. Um, Quick distinction that's really helpful for you guys. So we're practicing centering in a controlled, calibrating, non-consequential, replicable way. Hence, like a cold shower or martial arts or breath hold or yoga. These are good because they're not consequential. You're not practicing centering when you're driving, when you're in your business meeting, when you're with your kids. That is application, not practice. Do you get the difference? Application, that's your fucking life. Yeah. Practice, that's not your life. Application matters. Practice doesn't matter. That's the point. Practice you can do regularly. You wouldn't want to be like, okay, boss, can you scream at me every day so I can practice centering? Yeah. No. Okay. That's the application. All right. So application is the point, but the practice is how we get good for the application. A mistake a lot of people make is they wait till the application to practice, like the England football team practicing penalties 1 week before the World Cup. Idiots. Okay, do not do that. Practice penalties a year before. And then when you get to the World Cup, you know what you're doing. Painful, painful moments from my youth. Trauma being relived now. Germans, turn your cameras off. I don't want to see your faces. Anyway, so football memory, moving on. ABC centering is one of the ones on the videos. Yes, this is something you can do as a centering technique. There's others, but this is one you'll come across again and again and again. Aware of your body, balancing your posture, relaxing your core. And you can connect a bit of a cheat there because you can think of someone who makes you smile, that's co-regulation, or you can connect to something deeper that matters to you, that's theo-regulation, or you can connect to nature, that's eco-regulation. So a bit of a hack, that one at the end, but the first part works. Here's another simple one. Do what the kiddie's doing. Everyone, right now, relax while expanding. Mark Walsh's simplest 3-word centering technique. Oh, Esther, can you text me that? I'll do a video on it later. Mm. Freeze response, fawn responses, you'll see other things other than fight or flight. A full freeze response is actually much more intense than people often give it credit for. But you'll notice like stuckness in the breath, stuckness in the body. Yeah. You can like go into polyvagal theory and geek out if you really want to go into it. We don't have time for that today, but if you really want to get into the neuroscience and the different elements of it. Debs Dana is the person I'd recommend, who is probably a clearer teacher than Stephen Porges, both of them who are lovely teddy bears though. Yeah, so you can look up this. This is Helen, Dr. Helen, who I work with. She's part of our membership that does well-being stuff. You might want to join after Keck. So there's probably videos on this on the platform if you want to geek out a bit more. A good concept, I think, is also your baseline stress. If you're very stressed in life, centering's not going to work. Yeah, if you're centering, if you're, your lifestyle and your general sense of well-being is quite good, centering will both be both easier and more effective. Yeah, so there's a baseline stress that can accumulate. And this is one reason I burnt out years ago, is I got so good at centering, I became overly reliant upon it. I was almost like abusing it because I was like, so able to center myself. And then my baseline stress from, overwork and other factors, not enough sleep and blah, 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 was increasing underneath that. And I said, we are in a context of stress, whether that be the collapse of Western civilization, which is currently happening, the sort of speed, the technology, poverty, I think is a big one. A lot of people are just poor now. Yeah, I think that's not talked about enough. Poverty, not talked about enough. Okay, so the good news is you do not need to be a victim ever again. Doesn't mean that harsh conditions don't exist, historical, economic, whatever. But the beauty of centering is you can actually get yourself together. I think it's a really beautiful thing to be able to do. And what I say, sometimes you go from a -5 to a -2. Sometimes you go to a -2 to a 0. Sometimes you go to 0 to a +2. You can also center to get from a +2 to a +5. Yeah. So all of this is empowering. It's not about not having emotions. It's not about not noticing your body. We do the awareness part first. It's not about being perfect. You are going to be human. You are going to suffer. That is the nature of existence. However, you can suffer a bit less. You can be a bit nicer. You can be a bit more effective. Okay, so this week's practice. Um, as well as continuing the meditation, choose 1 to 3 activities per day that you can do a bit more mindfully. So when you do your sort of morning, like looking at the opportunities and threats, pick a few things to do mindfully, in a more aware way, in a more centered way if you want. And that just brings throughout the day. So things that are easy to do. So not hardcore applications like parenting or work, but things like washing up or doing the hoovering, simple things. You're adding centering to your pit stops. The pit stops are the check-ins, yeah, but only after you do the awareness. Evening diary, but you're looking at stress in your evening diary, sources of stress. If you want to add cold showers and breath holds, you can. Okay. So you do need to do the practice. If you want to come practice centering with us, come to the Netherlands. We've got a training there. It's definitely happening. So we've got enough people booked now. It's in Haarlem, just outside of Amsterdam, easy to get to from Amsterdam. If you want to do some in-person practice with us, do seriously consider. Okay, any questions on the practices before we do a breakout? Which mindful activity? So any activity in your life you could do mindfully. What's the criteria? It's not too complicated. It's not dangerous. You wouldn't do it crossing a busy road, but if you were like walking the same route every day and there was no traffic, you could do that. Chores, brushing your teeth. I don't know. What are some other things you do that are sort of just boring, normal things most days? Yeah, washing your hands, just some simple activities to get the mindfulness off the meditation cushion. Does that make sense? Yeah, so noxious stimuli is a way to practice centering. It's like adding weight to the bar. So you'll practice centering with your 5 times a day check-in, but maybe your life's really nice right now and nothing bad's happening. So it's fine. You can still be more centered, but practicing with a noxious stimuli sometimes like a cold shower or breath hold, i.e. something difficult and unpleasant, that is more challenging and that will increase your skill in centering. So that's what yoga is, martial arts, any difficult practice, anything that has intensity. You can practice with pleasure, but it's a little trickier. You could, for example, not eat your food for 1 minute every time you had a meal. You just sit and look at it for a minute and you'd be like, I want to eat the food, I'm hungry. And then you send to yourself. Yeah. You could practice sexually, but that's called tantra, and we don't do that on this course. Yeah, that's another practice, which yeah, it's fine, but different thing. Harder to calibrate. Do you want to practice this in the peer groups? Yes, take it in turns to teach centering in the peer groups. So one of you leads, begins your peer group. Follow that script. Follow that script for peer groups. Don't just bloody turn up and have a chat. Follow the script. Make that like really efficient use of everyone's time. Yeah, one of those things is like centering, and then you after 4 weeks you've all done it. After 8 weeks you've all done it twice. By that point you're working with clients. It's not so weird to do it with a client. You've had practice in your peer group already. All good on practices? All good? Did everyone enjoy topless Henry Cavill or the Polish athletes team? Again, apologies to Pauline. Pauline is thumbs up. Okay, no complaints. We've got Polish approval. It's okay. All right, we'll change nationality every year just to mix them up. Good. All right. So you've done brilliantly. Appreciate your full attention. So let's go to a breakout room. Let's do this topic. When are you more or less centered in your life? That's a topic for a little chat. So groups of 4, and we'll go like what, 13, 14 minutes. So come back to close. So that was from the Certificate of Embodiment Coaching. Go to embodimentunlimited.com if you want to check that out. This was week 4, and of course, the rest of it's not online. And you can see the kind of learning, got great rapport with the students, really deep in learning at this point, deep doing practices. They have peer groups. It's all a part of the KEC course. So some things didn't make sense. It was because it was relating to that for them. As I said, most of it you won't find online, just the occasional session we release. So if you want to have a look at KEC, we do it twice a year. Go to embodimentunlimited.com.